Okay, good morning, Boker Tov. Welcome back to Parsha Perspectives 4. Today we have the privilege of learning together Parsha's Vayishlach, this riveting story of Yaakov on the run from his brother. A riveting story continues. Yaakov is running. He's now built a large family, and together they're fleeing. They're going to reconcile. They're going to come together. But first, Akar Satov. Thank you to Becky and Avi Katz and family, sponsored in loving memory of David Grossman, Lo'ila Nishmas, David Ben Menachem Manish. This morning's shir is also sponsored in the merit of Binyamin Moshe Ben Bracha. Should have only good news, Besoros Tovos, and good results. Also by Sylvia Przansky in memory of her beloved father, Chaim Dov Schneider, whose neshama should have an aliyah. And lastly, in memory of my dear grandmother, Aleha Shalom, Rose Goldberg, Rachalea Bas Shalom David. You may remember I wrote an article a couple weeks ago about my less than 5-foot grandmother who charged into that office of the SS guards of the Nazis to demand her husband. And only because of her brazenness am I here, which I guess means that you're here this Tuesday morning. So we're grateful to her. Her neshama should have an aliyah. We miss her a lot. Page 170 in the Art Scroll Stone Chumash, Parsha's Vayishlach. Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav al Esav achiv artsa seir stei Edom. Yaakov sends malachim. Rashi goes out of his way to point out these malachim, these angels are malachim mamish, literal messengers, ambassadors, emissaries. Why does Rashi feel the need to say that? It's an interesting thing. When it comes to Yaakov, we see he engages malachim often. That term malachim, but the term malachim can mean two things. It can mean angels, celestial beings, extension or energy of God in this world, however you want to define an angel. Or alternatively, a malach could be a messenger, an ambassador, an agent, someone you send to do your bidding, someone you send to do your work. When does it mean which? We've discussed this in the past, but I'll give you the punchline of it, which is, we are the malachim for one another. We are each other's angels, guardian angels, angels. When we step up, when we step in, when we intervene, when we help, when we support, we're acting as an angel for another. Vayishlach Yaakov. And then the Torah goes on, and he gives these agents, he gives them instructions, a script. This is what you should tell my master Esav. Now it's interesting because we understand why Yaakov would call him a master. He would posture, he would want to position Esav to see him favorably, to save his life. So in his presence, he would call him Adoni. But why here in his absence? He's instructing the agents to go to Esav, and there he's already referring to them as Adoni Esav. Ko amar avdecha Yaakov. This is what your servant Yaakov says. Im lavan garti v'echar arata. So sorry, bro. Sorry, brother. Haven't been around. Haven't been able to reconcile, reconnect. We haven't had our reunion. It was delayed because I was living with Lavan. I was living with, remember Uncle Lavan? Remember our relative? I was living with him, and I was working for him, and I was delayed there. Ve'echar, I was delayed ad ata until now. Rashi tells us famously, Im Lavan garti ve tayag mitzvah shamarti. I lived with Lavan, and I observed all 613 laws. Even though I lived with the most pernicious, evil, wicked Eisvarf on the planet, even though I lived in the worst environment, I lived in the most morally depraved society, Lavan, I never compromised an iota. So you need to know, brother, whatever influence you think you're about to have over me, been there, done that. I lived there, Sin City, Lavan, and Tayag Mitzvah Shamarti. I observed everything, V'lo lamarti, and I didn't learn from his evil ways. Some commentaries point out that Yaakov was not boasting or showing off or flexing. He was actually being self-critical. I lived with him, and I didn't learn from his ways. Why is that self-criticism? Because there's always something to learn from everyone. And Lavan brings a passion and an energy and a relentless pursuit of his evil. I should have learned, of course, applied and channeled it differently, but I should have learned. If you see that relentless drive and passion and pursuit, I should have extrapolated from there and applied it to a noble, holy pursuit. I should have learned. Pasuk says, Me'oivai sechakmeni. And the tzaddikim say we should learn it, we should understand it to mean, Me'oivai, from my enemies, sechakmeni, I became wise. If we study and we learn the methodology of our enemies, we can gain wisdom. We gain greater strategy. We adopt, we learn a methodology, and that's true of the Yetzer Hara. When we understand the methodology of our worst selves, of our evil inclination, of our drive, of our temptation, of our distraction, we can learn from it to be our better and our best selves. Yaakov was being self-critical. But I didn't learn ve'echar ad ata. So Rashi says, Im Lavan Garti, I lived with Lavan. Lo na'asesi sar v'chashav elager. You should know, brother Esav, this is the message he's sending through the Malach, through these agents. Know that lest you think the blessing of Tati, of Abba, of Dad came true, lest you think I was appointed to some position of distinction, of prominence. I was a ger. I was a stranger. I was just passing through. Don't hate me that I stole the blessings. Not worth it. Have a gvir la'achecha, the bracha of that I'll be a gvir. A gvir. Some people, that's, they fill out, they meet with the guidance counselor. What do you want to be when you grow up? Today they fill out, I want to be a gvir. I want to be a gvir. Have a gvir la'achecha. I want to be a gvir. I'll be mighty and strong and rich and powerful and influential. Don't worry, lo niskaima bi. It wasn't fulfilled through me. Don't worry, says Yaakov. So the message ahead to Esav is, you're about to see me, got a large family, a lot of flock, a lot of assets, but don't think this is all the fulfillment of the blessing Dad gave us, because I'm just a ger. I've been wandering, I'm a nomad, I'm passing through, and I never landed. I never found myself elevated. I never received that position of distinction. Several of the commentaries are bothered. We'll share two of them today. What's Yaakov doing here? What's Yaakov doing? Don't think Dad's blessings came true. He's undermining our entire Masorah, our entire system, in order to position himself, to save himself, to secure himself. He's trying to reject the power and potency of their father's bracha. Don't worry, don't think Dad's bracha came true. And I'm a nothing. What do you mean you're nothing? The brachas were real, and they came true, and be grateful, and be proud, and stand strong with it. What are you pretending? What's going on over here? What's going on over here? Haperish harishon shehevi Rashi Divrei Yaakov Avinu Shem Lavan Garti shehevi meser leEsav she'en lo lispar liva mi'abracha sheberecho av gvir la'achecha lo niskayma bo. Yeshbo Koshi Atsum, says Rav Druk in his Lavos Eish, there is an incredibly powerful question, what you'd call in yeshiva a bam kasha. A bam kasha. Yaakov menaseh l'shachnei es Esav shir ba'atzma ki birchas Yitzchak lo niskayma bo. He's trying to convince his brother Esav, the wicked Russia, is this righteousness? To say that our father's blessing didn't come true? Masavar, what's he thinking? V'chi lo ha'amin shebirchas aviv iskayim? Atmiya. Imachein hem in Yaakov bebracha, v'shamar sadavar belibo liros amita. He's lying. What's he doing? Give up the lies. Yaakov, titain emes Yaakov. Yaakov, you're a man of truth. You cannot tell a lie. Yaakov believes in integrity and in honesty and in truth, and now he's going to lie that he never got the brachos? Says Rav Druk, al karchenu lomar uleva'er. Therefore, we have to understand. Behektim divrei Rashi. Rashi says, we're going to try to summarize this because it's a long essay here. But Rashi said earlier on Parshas Vayetze that when Yaakov encounters Rachel, he kisses her and he raises his voice and he cries. And why does he cry? So Rashi told us he cries because he sees he's not going to ultimately be buried with her. He won't be buried with her. But there's a second shot. Why did he cry? Because he came empty-handed. He came empty-handed. When Yitzchak married Rivka, when his father married his mother, the ring and the bracelet and the earrings and the machzor set in Boston with the name and the yichud room and the gift and all the things that the unwritten rules someone in a back room made up. Yitzchak came with all of it and gave it, and you have to in advance, and you need to know, and it's got to be worth this, and there's diamonds and these carrots and all the things. And Yaakov shows up, and his hands are empty. Why was he empty-handed? What happened to him? Esav has a son, Eliphaz. We spoke about this a couple weeks ago. And Esav sends Eliphaz and he says, go kill Uncle Yaakov. Take him out. Kill him. Eliphaz shows up to Uncle Yaakov and he says, what do I do? Uncle Yaakov, Fetter Yaakov. Stama, he called him Fetter. He says, I love you. You taught me so much. I grew up with Zayda, with Yitzchak. I murder you, kill you in cold blood. How could I do it? I have a dilemma. I have a conundrum. I learned from my father the one thing he excels at is Kibbut Aveim, honoring parents. My father said to kill you. But I don't think that's the right thing to do here. doesn't seem to me to be righteous. What do I do? Yaakov has a plan. Our rabbis say, Ani chashiv kames, someone indigent, impoverished, someone who can't pay bills, doesn't have a roof over their head and food to eat, someone who's dirt poor is dead even while they're alive. What are they living for? What is the quality of their life? And we bless everyone who's struggling. They should break through. Nobody should be in this category. So Yaakov says, take all my money. Here, Eliphaz, nephew, take everything I've got. You will leave me empty-handed with nothing. You'll be able to tell your father that you killed me. So, I don't understand. When Eliphaz comes home, the Torah and the Medrash, our rabbis never fill us in on what that conversation was like. Eliphaz comes home and Esav says, no, you did the deed, you did the bidding, took him out. Eliphaz says, done and done. He says, but why am I getting a message that Yaakov wants to reunite? He's still alive. How could you tell me you killed him? He's still alive. So it must be that Eliphaz told him, I didn't kill him physically. Ani chashav kames, I took all of his money. And Esav seemingly was satisfied with that. How could he have been satisfied with that? So Rav Druk quotes his father, of Mordechai Druk, the Drash Mordechai. And his father said the following. You see, a person can live in one of two planes. You could live in the here and now, you could live on this earth, you could live in the physical and the mundane, or you could live the spirit, the soul. You could live in the heavens even while we're here on earth. You could see the bigger picture. Esav was the here and now. Esav was asui, he was complete, he was a finished product, he was a hunter. All he cared about was right now and the pleasure of his hands. And when Eliphaz comes home and says, I stripped Uncle Yaakov of everything. He's got nothing. He's poor, he's impoverished, he's indigent, he has nothing. For Esav, Yaakov was dead. Because if you live in the here and now, if you live in this world, if you define life and the purpose of life and to be alive as pleasure and things, then Taka, his brother, was dead. He was satisfied. It was enough. It was enough. That was good. We see this with Lavan as well, he says. So, therefore, now we can understand. Now we can understand. Nucha lavar heitev is divrei Yaakov, im Lavan garti, lo na'aseh sisar v'chashuv, lo niskaimu bi abrachos, bevadehem in Yaakov b'chol libo shebrachos Yitzchak yiskaimu bo. You see, Yaakov is not lying. And Yaakov is not being unappreciative for the blessings. Yaakov knows they did come true, and he's grateful for them. So how could he turn to his brother? How could he send these agents and tell them, don't worry, I never became Gvir la'achecha. Don't worry, I never became Sar v'chashuv. I'm not prominent, I'm not distinguished, I'm not an officer, I'm not important, I'm just a gear. I'm wandering. What Yaakov is telling him is, according to your definition, according to your glossary, according to your purpose of life, those brachas. You saw the brachas as our Father promising me physical wealth. I don't care about physical wealth. You saw those blessings as our Father promising me distinction, power, fame, that never meant anything to me. Spiritual wealth, family, experiences, connection, closeness with God, a mission, purpose-driven life, those blessings came true, every one of them. But that's not how you define blessing. So according to your definition, your aspiration, your ambition, what you live for, Eliphaz killed me. I'm dead, even while I'm alive and I appear before you, according to your definition. Even though true, according to my definition, what I know to be true, I'm very much alive, and those blessings very much came true. The Gerer Rosh Hashiva of Shaul Alter has a similar insight. He raises similar questions to what we just saw. And he says the following. Ooh. There's no message? Yeah, I don't know how that's possible. It says it's on. We'll post the recording of it. First, Yaakov's message seems to convey a lack of faith in Yitzchak's brachos. No, it's good. In Yitzchak's brachos. Second, why would this calm Esav down? Let's say the agent told him, don't worry, the brachos didn't come true. Why would that make Esav happy? The bottom line is the brachos were still stolen. And finally, Rashi's wording is uncharacteristically lengthy. And what is he trying to prove? So the Ger Rosh Hashiva quotes Rishaya Bik in his Minei Targima, who explains Rashi's choice of an expression. You need not hate me for taking the brachos, have a gvir la'achecha. It was not fulfilled be in me. It was not fulfilled lo niskaimu be. It was not fulfilled be in me. There's nothing Rashi says that's a coincidence. So what does he mean, Lo niskaimu bi, it was not fulfilled in me? Take the word gvir and remove the letters bi, beis yud. What are you left with? Ger. The ger. Yaakov was saying, instead of becoming gvir, lo niskaimu bi, I remained only a ger. What's a ger? A wanderer. Someone who's traveling, someone who's sojourning, somebody who's moving all around. The Ramban explains that Esav spurned the bracha because to him all that mattered was the here and now. And the bracha was a matter not of the here and now, but the future. Yitzchak's promise to Yaakov was all about the future. The Mefarshim explained that Esav was given that name. Esav was born Asui. He was complete. He was a finished product. All there was the here and now. There was no future. There was no growth. There was no building towards something. This is the essence of Esav. What is made, whatever exists in the present, that's all that counts. There is no future, there's nothing to live for. And that's not the way of Yaakov. The very mission of the Jewish people is to live for, is to look towards the future. Esav is an olam hazeh, we live for an olam haba. Esav is this world, we're living in this world in order to achieve, in order to gain, in order to have entrance, in order to have the best place where? In the world to come. In the world to come. And that's what Yaakov was telling him. He says, ger, not gvir, lo niskaimu bi, in me, ger. I'm a wanderer. I'm not a toshav. I never unpacked in this world. I'm not here permanently. I don't live for the here and now. I understand that we're here temporarily and we're just passing through. I understand what matters and I understand how to define real wealth. Real wealth is not what you have. Real wealth is what you've given away. Real wealth is what you've invested in repairing and redeeming and improving the world. Real wealth is the influence and the legacy and the change and the impact that you've left. I do a lot of funerals. I spend too much time in cemeteries, and I've seen all kinds of things on tombstones. It's actually one of my bizarre habits is to tour tombstones. I've seen decks of cards. People love their poker, their bridge. I've seen golf clubs on tombstones. I've seen all kinds of things on tombstones. You know what I've never seen? A person's net worth. I've never seen a tombstone that listed where you appeared in the Forbes 400, what your net worth, how many properties a person had. I've never seen it. You know why? Because you can't take any of it with you. You can't take it with you. A person's worth is not what they have at the end when they leave this world. A person's worth is what they've given away. The influence, the impact, the difference they've made in this world. So that's what Yaakov is telling him. Through this malach, through this agent. When you see my brother, tell him don't worry. He's going to notice I have lots of things, but those things don't define me. That's not my life. That's not what I live for. There's nothing wrong with enjoying nice things. Enjoy them, be gesund. But what we really live for and the real definition of success and of life is not what we have, but what we've given away. It's not what we hold on to. It's not what we take, but it's the impact, it's the influence, it's the mission, it's the purpose. To be a ger, why? Why should we give it away? The answer is because we're just passing through here. We're here temporarily. We're just stopping. Everyone knows the famous story of the Chafetz Chaim. When the Chafetz Chaim, when he lived in a very, very, very modest, small, tiny apartment with very modest things, and was asked why. And he said, let me ask you, when you go to a hotel, do you bring your furniture from home? Do you bring your entire wardrobe? Do you decorate the room? The person said, no, of course not. He said, why not? He said, because I'm only there for a few days. I'm just passing through there. I'm only at the hotel temporarily. Why would I transform it to make it like my own? He said, exactly. That's the mentality living in this world. We're here temporarily. We're passing through. We're a ger, not a toshav. Im lavan garti, not yashavti. I never unpacked. I lived with love on many years. I never fully unpacked. And I don't mean the boxes that sit in the corner of the room. I don't mean the suitcases that the last articles of clothing are still in. He meant spiritually, I never unpacked. This was never my definition, my identity. I never made this my home. Lo yashavti. I wasn't a full resident and citizen of this world. Yeah, my feet, they're planted on the same world as you. Mutzav arza. We're on this world. Physically, we're maneuvering, we're journeying through this world. But my head, it's magia hashamayma, says Yaakov. I'm in the next world already. I'm looking down at this world from the next world. I'm interacting with people. I'm performing mitzvos. I'm connecting to Hashem. I'm already living my legacy. I'm already thinking about what will be said at my funeral. I'm reverse engineering my life. And if we reverse engineer our lives, that we're not fixated and focused on how can I accumulate and amass the most things, how can I die while I have more than anyone else, if you reverse engineer your life and you're thinking about your funeral or what will be said on your tombstone, it will not be your net worth. It will be the influence, the impact, the difference that you made, what you empowered in a community, in institutions, in children, in adults, for Israel, for soldiers, and for more. In Lavan Garti, I was a ger, I just passed through. Lo Yashafti, I never unpacked. I was never here. So the bracha, the way you perceive the bracha, Esav, the bracha you think I stole, the bracha you wanted, I never took. It was never fulfilled. I don't have. The bracha that I wanted, I live every day. I've won the lottery. I've lived the most blessed life each and every day. Perek Lamed Beis, Pasuk Yud Beis. Turn the page right away. So Yaakov is preparing for this reconciliation. He does so in three ways. We've studied in the past that throughout our history, great leaders have studied Parshas Vayishlach when we're ready to go out to war. We've had a 15-month war, and it continues to open on fronts we never anticipated. Who would believe what's going on in Syria? If October 6th, a little over a year ago, I would have told you, Hamas decimated, Hezbollah all but gone, Assad overthrown, Israel taking the Hermon in Syria and a buffer zone, and that over the last 2 days it destroyed the entire air force and weapons of Assad and of Syria, so that the rebels who take over are starting from scratch. If October 6th I would have told you this, you would have said, you're out of your mind. There's no way in this natural world any of those things will happen. Hamas is formidable. Hezbollah has 150,000 rockets facing us. And Syria, Assad, has chemical weapons. He's gassed his own people, and he's threatened to do it to Israel. You're out of your mind. And Iran is on the ascent. You would have said you're out of your mind. Fast forward, and Hashem is unbelievable. We've paid way too high a price. Paid way too high a price that breaks our hearts. That breaks our hearts. But one would never believe where we are at. And this is the methodology of the Jewish people that the Torah prescribes for us, already beginning here. And this is what Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi would read Parshas Vayishlach before he would have to go meet with his counterpart, the government. And we continuously read. Menachem Begin read Parshas Vayishlach before he came to famous meetings in America when he was dealing with peace treaties, making peace, because we follow the footsteps of Yaakov. And Yaakov had a methodology of three things. Three things. He sent gifts to Esav, which represents diplomacy. He prayed and he prepared for war. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. He did all three, and we continue to do all three. And Yaakov says, I don't know who I'm going to meet. Hatzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav. Save me from my brother from Esav. Ki arei anochi oso. Pen yavo v'yikani eima banim. Because I'm afraid, and he may come and kill me, and the mothers of my children, it could be all over. I don't know who I'm going to meet. And based on Rashi, we classically understand it to mean, I don't know who I'm going to meet. Miyad achi miyad Esav. Will I meet Achi? Will I meet Esav? Who am I going to meet? I don't know who I'm going to meet. I don't know why they're saying the sound is a problem. I don't know who I'm going to meet. Will it be my brother? Will it be my twin? The one I grew up with until 13 years old, we were best buddies? Or will it be Esav? The one who's turned out to be my adversary and my enemy. I don't know which one I'm going to meet, so he could be two-faced. I need to be prepared for both. That interpretation we've always shared and we've always heard, but I want to share another one with you. Listen to this interpretation. This blew me away. I never saw this before. The Rokeach, Rav Druk quotes a Rokeach. The Rokeach quotes a Medrash Agada. Kashabarach Yaakov ne Esav, Harash l'Charan. When Yaakov ran away from Esav the wicked to Charan, Nolad lo le'Esav ben. Esav had a child. And what did he name his child? Karu b'shem Achi. He named his son my brother. Why? Why did he name his son my brother? He never wanted to forget what his brother did to him. So that he would relive that trauma every day, he named his son brother. And every time he called his son, whose name was brother, he remembered he relived what his brother did to him. So that he would remain furious, angry, ready to kill him. Says Rav Druk, based on this Rokeach, now we have a new understanding of this tefillah that Yaakov prayed. What was Yaakov worried about? Two separate people. Not the classic interpretation, I don't know which one I'm going to get. Will I get my brother, will I get Esav? But there were two people. Will I get Esav or will I get my nephew, Achi? Esav had a son named Achi. I don't know. It's amazing. It's amazing. No matter how old you are, you open and learn the same Parsha, and you discover and you come upon new things. Who here ever heard that before? That Esav had a son named Achi. And that's who Yaakov was afraid to meet. Would it be his brother Esav or his nephew Achi? But I'll tell you why I'm sharing this with you this morning. What I find fascinating about it, those who are taking the IFS course, that we've offered, internal family systems that were made up of parts, and we have a true self, and the parts that we have, the managers and firefighters, they come from the traumas of our life, capital T and small letter T. The big traumas, the small traumas, the things from our childhood, from our upbringing, from our influences, from our authority figures, they embed themselves within us, and then we have parts that act as managers and firefighters, and they're no bad parts. But those traumas embed themselves. And it seems to me that that's what this Rokeach is saying, is that Esav went through a trauma. He felt his brother stole something that was rightfully his. And when we have a trauma, we give birth to a child and we name it that trauma. And then it continues to ring in our ear. It continues to reverberate in our lives. It continues to haunt us and inform us and not necessarily bring out the best in us. And maybe that's another way of interpreting and understanding that Esav had a son and he named his son my trauma. He named his son abuser. He named his son bully. He named his son underachieving. He named his son whatever the trauma was in his life, because we give birth to that child, that part in us, and that part in us continues to influence and impact us until we reconcile, until we learn how to unburden, until we learn how to unbind our parts. For that, see more Shira Fruchter IFS seminar. Perek Lamed Beis Pasuk Yud Ches. Vayitzabes Harishon Lemor, and he tells the first one. Ki yifgashcha Esav achiyu she'elcha lemor. When you meet my brother Esav, and he's going to ask you, Lemi ata v'ana seilech u'lemi eila lefanecha. So he's sending them, advanced team, and he says, you, the advanced team, when you get there, you're going to meet Esav, the first one who gets there. Esav's going to ask you. He's going to say, who are you? Where are you going? And who is everyone? What's with the whole chevra here? What's going on? Says Rabbi Soloveitchik. Listen to the Rav. Says Rav Soloveitchik. My brother Esav, Yaakov told his agents, will ask you three questions. Three questions. Everything in the Torah is talking right to us. And these are the three questions that we are asked. What are the three questions? To whom do you belong? This is how Rabbi Soloveitchik understands it. To whom do you belong? To whom do you belong means, to whom do you as a metaphysical being, as a soul, as a spiritual being belong? Where are you going? To whom is your historical destiny committed? To whom have you consecrated your future? What is your ultimate goal, your final objective? Who is your God and what is your way of life? These inquiries are related to your identity as members of a covenantal community. But Yaakov continued, my brother Esav will also ask a third question. And for whom are all these before you? Are you ready to contribute your talents, your capabilities, your efforts towards the material and cultural welfare of the general society? Are you willing to pay taxes to develop and industrialize the country? This third inquiry is focused on the temporal aspects of life. Yaakov told his agents to answer the third question in the positive. It is a gift sent to my master. We feel obligated to enrich society with our creative talents, to be constructive and useful citizens. Yet in regard to the first two questions, he commanded his representatives to reply in the negative, clearly and precisely, boldly and courageously. He commanded them to tell Esav their soul, their personality, their metaphysical destiny, their spiritual future and sacred commitments belong exclusively to God and his servant Yaakov. So the first two questions, to whom do you belong and where are you going? I belong to Yaakov, I belong to God, and that's where I'm going. For whom are these before you? What's all this stuff for? What's all this stuff for is for the world around me, to make the world a better place. And that's exactly what we were just saying. That's how Yaakov lives. Unlike Esav, who lives for the here and now in this world and his pleasure, Yaakov lives to improve the world around him, to repair and redeem the world, to be on a mission to make the world a better place. It's the biggest nebuch in the world. I meet people who've never ever had the joy or the experience or the positivity of giving, of doing. They're clenching with two fists so tight. They hold it all for themselves. They don't understand The greatest joy is to improve the world, to impact the world, to give, to give. Yaakov understands that Esav doesn't. Who are we the children of? Vayakam balayla, Pit Lamed Beis, Pasuk Chaf Gimel. Vayakam balayla hu, Vayikach shtei nashav shtei shevchosav v'esachar yiladav, Vayavor es ma'avar Yabok. Yaakov got up that night. He took his 2 wives, his 2 handmaids, his 11 sons. He crossed the Yabok. And he crossed the Yabok. Says the Tifer Shmuel. Says Rav Shmuel Berenbaum. The Tifer Shmuel. Vayakam balayla hahu. Says Rashi. Dina hechanaisa. The Torah explicitly here references Yaakov had 11 sons. Who is the Torah not including? Who are we not counting? A daughter, Dina. Yaakov had a daughter named Dina. Where is Dina? Hechanaisa. Nasna beteva v'nal b'faneha shlohitin ba'esav einav. He put her in a box. He secured her away. We choose to see it not as some punishment or some uncomfortable position, but it means he hid her. And why did he hide Dinah? Because he was worried. My evil, wicked brother Esav might even put eyes on his own niece and want her and take her and hope he has a future with her. V'lachei nanash Yaakov shemana me'achiv shema tachziren lemuta v'nafla biyad Shechem. The truth is, it was a mistake of Yaakov, a miscalculation. Why? Because maybe Dinah, if she would have developed a relationship with Uncle Esav, according to the Torah, an uncle and a niece can marry. We have famous cases. And Tziv married his niece. We have famous cases of people who married their own niece. Dinah could have married her uncle Esav, and say Chazal, says Rashi, maybe she would have had a positive influence, a positive impact. She could have turned him around. Instead of Esav being the progenitor of a people who've haunted us and tried to exterminate us and kill us until now, Uncle Esav could have been turned around from an adversary and an enemy who seeks to exterminate into a friend and into an ally. Points out the Tifer Shmuel of Shmuel Berenbaum something fascinating. Yesh lilmod mikan godel koach ishto shel adam be'ashpa alav latova shrei le'esav hayu harbe ashpaos tovos. You see the power of influence because Esav had many great influences over his life. Esav had great influences over his life. Who are the influences over Esav's life? Who are the influences over Esav's life? It's not a trick question. Who are the influences over his life? Saba, V'asavta, his grandmother and his grandfather. He had many great influences. Avram v'Sarah, Ha'aba v'Ima Yitzchak and Rivka, his parents, his grandparents, and he had a brother Yaakov. V'im kol ze adayin hu omed birisho. And despite that, despite his twin brother, amazing parents, extraordinary grandparents, despite that, he was a terrible Russian, evil person. And with that, our rabbis nevertheless remained hopeful that if he would have married Dinah, she could have turned him around. What do you see from here? When no other influence might work, when no other sources of influence might work, who is the last hope? Who still has the greatest influence? Who can turn something around? A wife. A wife. The power of a spouse, the power of a wife, a trusted confidant, an other half, a better half, an Ezer Kenegdo. The Gemara says in Brachos, Nashim b'mai zachyan. Women, why do they marry? Bakri b'nayu lebekinishta, v'asnuya gvarayu b'rabanan, v'natron legarvayu ada'asumi b'rabanan. The schus that women have is in encouraging and empowering and supporting and helping their sons go to yeshiva, their husbands go to shul to learn, their own learning, of course. All the wonderful, righteous women who are here this morning and who come tomorrow morning and who learn all the time. We're not at all diminishing or taking away from the learning women do for themselves. But that akeres habayis, when the husband turns over and says, I'll start daf yomi next week. When the son says, I don't feel like going to yeshiva today. And the wife and the mother say, get up, get out of bed, get going. Not on my watch. Torah is sacred, Torah is too important. It is going to build our home. Get up, get to shul. Get up, I'm driving you to yeshiva. That's the schus of the Nashim Tzidkanios. A wife, the power, the positive influence of a spouse in both directions, but let's be honest, of a wife, that's why even when all else seemed hopeless and helpless. What was holding on? If Dinah would have married Uncle Esav, maybe, just maybe, there was still a possibility. Still a possibility. Interesting insight. Perek Lamed Beis Pasuk Chaf Hei. So what happens? Yaakov goes back. They cross the river. Yaakov goes back. He forgot something. Vayivasa Yaakov Vado. He encounters Sarah Shel Esav, his alter ego. He wrestles the whole night. Vayavik Ishimar Alos HaShachar. And he wrestles the entire night long. He wrestles the entire night long. Says the Tiferet Shmuel. Says of Shmuel Berenbaum. He wakes up and he's wrestling the entire night long. Lama davke Eitzel Yaakov shemalach nilcham imo v'lo matzinu davar kazeh Eitzel Avram Avinu. Yaakov goes back. He's all alone. He encounters this Satan, this alter ego, however you want to define it. He wrestles all night long. He's injured. He limps away. He perseveres. His name is changed. Why only Yaakov? Why didn't his father Yitzchak encounter this Satan, this Satan, this evil alter ego? Why didn't Avram? Why first with Yaakov? They say in the name of the Chavetz Chaim, Avram represented the pillar of Chesed. Yitzchak was the pillar of Avoda, service. Yaakov was the pillar of Torah. Chesed, the world stands on three things: Torah, Avoda, Gemilas Chasadim. Avram's Chesed, Yitzchak is Avoda, Yaakov is Torah. Yitzhahara ve'asar shel Esav yecholin lizbol ma she'anashim mekayim chesed o ovdim avoda b'mikdash mispalim. The Yitzhahara can hold on. The Yitzhahara can deal with when a person is doing chesed. It's noble, it's nice, they're doing chesed, they're not threatened, the Yitzhahara. Yitzhahara can deal with when someone is davening. Davening, let him shuckle, let him daven, let him say Tehillim. Aval ina yachol lizbol ma she'klal Yisrael lomdim Torah. What the Yitzhahara can't tolerate, what the Yitzhahara can't deal with, is when the Jewish people are delving and diving into Torah. When we study, when we learn, when we live, when we apply, then the Yitzhahara says, uh-oh, now I'm threatened. Now I'm undermined. Now I won't be successful. Now I can't succeed. HaTorah hu ikar akli melchama keneged Yitzhahara. Torah is the chief instrument, the chief weapon we have to fight that Yitzhahara. When that evil inclination says, look at that, say that, go there, do that thing, cut that corner, pursue your ego, hold on to all your things because you think that wealth is the most important. When that Yitzhahara is fighting, the way to defeat it is Torah study. Come, we learn, we open up our mind, we nourish our soul, we fill our heart, and we're able to overcome that Yitzhahara. Barasi Yitzhahara, say Chazal, the Gemara in Kedushin, God says, I created the evil inclination, the Yitzhahara, Barasi Torah Tavlin. What is the elixir? What is the medicine? What is the spice that can offset that Yitzhahara? Torah is the tavlin. Torah is the tavlin. Tana de Yishmael, b'ni im pagabacham menuval zeh mashchel beis medrash. If you encounter this Yitzhahara, schlep it, drag it where? To the beis medrash. To the beis medrash. And if the Yitzhahara is like an Evan nimuach, in barzel mispotzetz. If it's like a rock, it'll melt. If it's like iron, it'll burst, it'll explode, it'll spark. Yitzhahara can't defeat Talmud Torah. Schlep yourself to a shiur, turn on a class, read an article, open a sefer, a book. When the Yitzhahara is burning bright inside you, when you've got such juicy gossip you just want to share, when you want to do that mistake, when you want to violate or have that poor judgment or indulge that instinct or that drive, Torah. And that's why Avram, Chesed, Yitzhahara said, okay, go do your Chesed. Yitzchak, Avoda davening, go do your davening. Yaakov, you're studying Torah, uh-oh. I've got to wrestle with you. I've got to strike. I've got to go to war. Because if you study Torah, I'm defeated. I'm done. We see the power of Torah study, the importance and the power of Torah study in fighting and in defeating the Yitzhahara. Rabbi Yerucham has another comment. It's an amazing medrash. It says that Vayivasar Yaakov livado. Yaakov went back that night and he was all alone. And he wrestled with this alter ego. He was injured, he limped away, his name was changed. And we are called Bnei Yisrael, the children of Yisrael, not Bnei Yaakov, not the children of Yaakov. Says the Medrash something amazing. Yisrael Saba Ma Kodesh Baruch Hu Kasuba V'niskav Hashem Levado Af Yaakov Vayivasar Yaakov Levado. God is exalted alone, singular, unique, and Yaakov also Vayivasar Yaakov Levado. And Rav Yerucham of the Mir tells us The Chazal were telling us we imitate God in this way. God is livado, unique and distinct and singular. And we too are at our best when we understand what is unique and distinct and singular in us. Livado. We were not meant to live alone. We're supposed to connect with community, achdus. We're supposed to care about others. We're supposed to get married. Al ken yazoviv, davak beishto. Get married, connect, meet another half, your better half. Nevertheless, man was created by ourselves. Adam nivra yechidi, livado. Why were we created first alone by ourselves? To be able to be comfortable in our own skin. To be able to be in conversation with ourselves, to know ourselves, to learn ourselves, to love ourselves, to live ourselves, and to recognize that we don't need to compete or compare or keep up, and we shouldn't live someone else's life. Be yourself because everyone else is taken. I think that was Ralph Waldo Emerson. Be yourself because everyone else is taken. Livado, vayivasa Yaakov livado. One of the ways we imitate the Almighty is a willingness to be in our own skin. So many people are poor imitations of others. They're trying to compete and compare and keep up. They're trying to conform. But Yaakov, how does Yaakov break through? When does he have this major breakthrough? Not coincidentally, when he is levado, when he's by himself. We live in a world and at a time that nobody wants to be by themselves. We always need to have noise surrounding us. We have AirPods in, we're listening to a podcast, we're listening to music, we're in conversation. The thought of being stuck by ourselves is torture. It's torture. Someone I'm close with, someone I know and love, recently had an MRI. I asked how it went. She said, you know what it's like? You're in that machine for a long time. You're all by yourself. You're not watching, you're not entertained, you're not listening to, you're not in conversation. No music, it's just you. It's just you. Worse than the sound of the MRI and worse than the pain of why you're going through the MRI. For some, more painful is the experience of having to be alone. But it's in that aloneness, not loneliness, it's in the aloneness that we break through, that we wrestle with ourselves, that we have these thoughts. I've shared before, when do you have the best ideas? When do you break through when you're stuck on a conundrum or a dilemma? I know that I have my best thoughts in one of two places. While I'm davening or in the shower. What's the tzad hashava, the common denominator of both? You're by yourself. So your mind wanders and you're thinking and you're wrestling and you're struggling and you break through, you break barriers. You break through whatever it is that's holding you back and that's making you stuck. Says Rav Yerucham, he understands this medrash. V'niskav Hashem levado, vayivasar Yaakov levado. That this notion of being alone, not loneliness, but aloneness. It's the basis of the notion of our ability to designate time every day for being alone, being in conversation with Hashem, being in conversation with Hashem. To be alone. Go for a walk every day. Put your phone on airplane mode. Listen to your own inner voice. Listen to that conversation that we're having with Hashem. Yaakov's name is changed as a result of this wrestling match. Vayigab b'kaf Yerechov, take a kaf Yerech Yaakov. Pasuk Chavtes. The whole conversation. Vayomer elav ma shemecha. What's your name? He says, my name is Yaakov. Lo Yaakov ye'amar od shemcha. Your name is not Yaakov. Kim Yisrael. Your name will be Yisrael. Sarisa melokim v'im nashim batuchal. You wrestled with God and with man, and you emerged, and you overcame, and you were victorious. It's a bizarre. He's wrestling with his alter ego, and this conversation, what's your name? This is my name. That won't be your name anymore. It seems bizarre. What's going on here in this? What's going on here in this conversation? In this conversation. And this is the name that we have two names of. It's the only one. The Gemara Barachos Daf Yud Gimel Paskins, that once Avram's name was changed to Avraham, we are forbidden to referring to him as Avram. He's Avraham. He's Avraham. And in contrast, Yaakov, even after his name is changed, Sarai is now Sarah. We don't call her Sarai. But in contrast, Yaakov becomes Yisrael, but he's still sometimes Yaakov and sometimes Yisrael. And that's one of the fun things to go through Chumash and see when does the Chumash refer to him as Yaakov, when does the Chumash refer to him as Yisrael. Sometimes this and sometimes that. Why the difference? Why was Avram's name changed permanently And why here is Yaakov's name changed? It's not really changed. He's given another name, an additional name. And he's sometimes referred to as this name and sometimes as that. Several years ago, we had the privilege of hosting Ari Sachar for a Shabbos. Is his mother here? She comes to the Parsha class sometimes. He was here for a Shabbos. Ari is literally a rocket scientist. You know, a lot of Jewish parents want to raise their child to be a rocket scientist. He's literally a rocket scientist. He directed the team at Rafael Defense Systems that created the Iron Dome. Now, launching a missile at a rocket in the sky and making it explode is something that rocket scientists in America and around the world tried and said could never happen. Particularly to blow up the primitive rockets that were being launched from Gaza, where you can't really accurately predict the trajectory and the velocity, and to launch your own rocket that'll make it explode in the sky. Everybody else gave up, said it was impossible, it wasn't going to happen. And now, Israel has a laser that can blow rockets up in the sky. It hasn't deployed it yet, but not only does it have Iron Dome, which is incredibly expensive, and we're amazingly grateful to American elected officials who have supplied the Iron Dome that is protecting our brothers and sisters in Israel. But when Ari was here for that Shabbos, it goes back several years, Iron Dome was the cutting edge technology, and a tremendous point of pride for Israeli scientists and the whole pro-Israel community. I remember his visit was Parsha's Vayishlach, and he got up and he said the following: a brilliant rocket scientist, also a Talmud Chacham, of course he learns in Karen B'Yavna, who learns each and every day, and he said the following amazing drasha. He says, a person's name is more than just what he's called. A person's name identifies their mission on earth. It's a description. When parents give a name, we know they are endowed with certain divine assistance, prophecy, to reveal the mission. Avram was born Avram, a contraction of the words Av and Aram, the father of Aram. He was born in Aram, in modern-day Iraq. His innovation regarding monotheism was revolutionary, and he became a local superstar in Aram. But eventually Avraham outgrew his first mission. His message had become too important to be relegated to just one local city, to one part of the world. He had a new mission. He's not just Avram of Aram, he becomes Avraham. Av Hamon Goyim. The whole internet, biggest influencer, biggest podcast, most followers, the whole world. Avram becomes a global phenomenon, and his new name reflects his new mission. So he goes from Avram, an influencer in Aram, to Avraham, an influencer of Hamon Goyim, of the whole world. When Yaakov is born, we're told that his hand is holding on to Esav's heel, his Akev. And after Esav discovers that Yaakov has stolen the blessing, he comments ruefully, "Isn't it fitting that my brother is Yaakov? He was deceived, Vayakveni. He deceived me now twice. He took my birthright and he stole my blessing." You see, Yaakov is the name of a person who takes what he needs, but doing it by less than ideal means. Yaakov takes what he needs, but less than ideal, by lying, by cheating, and by stealing. Yisrael, on the other hand, is different. Yaakov's unknown assailant calls him by his new name and tells him, your new name is why? Ki sarisa, you wrestled and you prevailed. The Sforno comments, the word sarisa comes from sar. What's a sar? Sforno says, a sar is an officer, a king. You're now worthy to sit with kings. The name Yisrael comes from the word srara. The word srara means mastery. Yisrael is the name of a person who rightfully receives all that he deserves with dignity, with honor, with nobility, with kings as royal, as opposed to Avram, who had his mission redrawn. Yaakov has an additional mission which is given. At certain times, Yaakov comes to the fore, and at other times, it's Yisrael who takes the stage. When Yaakov is about to die, signaling the onset of the Egyptian exile, the Torah tells us, Yaakov lived in Mitzrayim for 17 years. And then the very next pasuk continues, the time drew near for Yisrael to die. Why does it say Yaakov lived in Egypt 17 years, and then the time drew near for Yisrael to die? It's like the Torah is testifying about two different people, but we know it's the same person. The answer is because it was Yaakov who was living in Mitzrayim, not Yisrael. In the Egyptian exile, there is no Jewish mastery and royalty. Paro would make certain that Yisrael remains suppressed, dead and buried for the duration of his stay. When does Yisrael emerge? When Yaakov's children are redeemed, when they're liberated, when on the path of greatness,
and with
we see a
rockets launched
Yisrael emerge.
and having to rely on the
Avram
Yaakov
becomes
Iron Dome
Avraham,
to hopefully
replacing
blow
his
it up
previous mission.
overhead.
Yaakov
We should dismantle
is added on to
those who
Yisrael.
make the rockets, those
Sometimes
who
will
launch
still
them
be Yaakov,
wherever they are.
Akev, the heel.
Please God have successfully
We're doing
done so.
what's
The
right
message of
and
our
what we
Parsha.
need to, but through
Will
less
we
than
be
an
the
ideal
children of
means,
Yisrael
then
or
that
the
is
children of
then that
Yaakov?
is a Yaakov.
We've tasted,
Yisrael,
we've emerged
Yisrael
this last
is
year plus
our ideal
to be
state.
Am Yisrael,
On the
Am
eve of
HaNetzach,
confronting his brother Esav,
B'nai
Yaakov first
Yisrael,
expresses
not just B'nai
his
Yaakov,
identity.
but will it continue?
He presents
will we
himself
have the courage
defensively
and the strength
and apologetically.
and the support
He sends
to
gifts
continue to go
and
where
he
we need to go
submits,
and do what
and
we
he
need
refers
to do.
to his brother
The
Esav
pager,
as my master,
the pager,
no less than,
you
if
know
you
what
look
to
at the
call it,
beginning of our
operation?
Parsha, no
That's
less
an
than
operation of
8
Yisrael.
times.
That's
Something
Yisrael
Chazal were
operation.
critical of Yaakov for
No
doing.
more.
What are you doing calling
we
him
can't
your
go back
master?
to being Yaakov.
According to the
Defenseless
Rashbam,
and
Yaakov
powerless
spent his
and
whole
relying
life
and begging and
avoiding
groveling
confrontation,
the approval
running
and the
away
funding
from
of
conflict,
others.
and even now
Am
trying to
Yisrael,
escape
Am
and bow
HaNetzach
out,
has to
which is
only
why he was
continue.
alone that night.
Berg Lamed Beis Pasuk
The
Lamed.
Rashbam is critical of Yaakov.
Here in
How
this
does he find himself
conversation-
alone? There's a lot of
In
interpretations
this
we've studied in the
conversation,
past.
Vayishlach Yaakov,
Maybe it's
Vayom Adin
criticism of the
Hashemecha.
sons. Why they
Yaakov
let the
turns to the
Tati
angel
go out
and says,
alone
okay,
at
you asked
night?
my name, you changed
But
my
the
name. What's
Rashbam
your name?
understands that Yaakov
Vayom Lama Zeh Tishal
was a little
Shmi.
cowardly.
And the angel
His
asks,
whole family is
answers,
en
why are
route
you
to go
asking
meet
my
the brother.
name? Why do you want
And
my
Yaakov
name?
retreats. He's Vayivasa
So,
Yaakov
it's a beautiful Chaim
Levado.
Shmulevitz.
He's all alone because he
We
was
studied in the
afraid.
past
But
that
instead Hashem sent an
Lama
angel
Zeh
to wrestle with
Tishal
him
Shmi is not in
and to
fact the
teach him
angel saying, why are
you
you
can't
asking my
run
name?
and you
The
can't
angel is
hide.
answering
Take your
Yaakov,
enemies
my
head on,
name
defeat
is,
them
why
and
are
triumph
you
over
asking
them.
my name?
If you kowtow to them,
Chaim
avoid them,
Shmulevitz has a whole
negotiate with
interpretation.
them,
We've shared it
they
in the
will
past.
continuously
Listen to what
come
Rav
back
Soloveitchik says.
to haunt you. So
Unfortunately,
this angel forces Yaakov to dig
so
deep,
insightful.
to stand up for
Soloveitchik says the
himself,
following.
to take pride
Yaakov
in
was
his
attacked
mission,
for no apparent reason.
to not run away, but to
Soloveitchik
confront,
points out, if you look in
to
the text,
wrestle, to persevere.
this wrestle
and
is
when
wrestling
he
with
does,
Yaakov. He has this breakthrough.
he's now Yisrael.
He perseveres. He gets a new
Sarara,
name. What were they
nobility,
wrestling over the whole
the
night?
noble one.
What were they fighting
Yisrael
about?
would never have debased himself
text
before
never tells
Esav
us.
to call him my master.
It's a lesson, says the
Yisrael
Rav.
would have told Esav, I'm back.
Because it's not important what
Live
we're
with
wrestling
me
about.
or live
What's
against
important
me.
is
The
to be
choice is
wrestling.
yours. I'm
To be
not
wrestling
going
with
anywhere.
ourselves.
I'm
Don't be
here and I'm
complacent.
here to stay.
Don't feel you arrived.
So
Don't
Ari,
be an
that
Esav
rocket
who's Asui and
scientist,
think
shared
that you're
this Torah
finished.
insight
No matter what age,
that
no matter
morning.
what stage.
And
you're
very
just getting started.
unexpectedly,
You're just getting started.
it was an
Your
APAC
best
Shabbos,
is
and
yet
I
to
thought I was
come.
going to talk all about the Iron
Wrestle.
Dome, and it's amazing.
Wrestle
We should
with
be so
ourselves
proud
to
and with the envy
improve,
of
to
the
be
whole
better,
world.
and to grow.
But instead he
Yaakov's
said,
attacked for no apparent
rather
reason.
than
Yaakov
show
asked
off or
his attacker for
celebrate
his name,
the Iron
he
Dome
said,
that
I
he was
cannot
part of
expose
inventing,
my identity.
he said the Iron
refusal of
Dome
the
is
anonymous
utterly
attacker to
pathetic.
identify himself represents one of the most horrible characteristics of our
Its
destiny.
existence
The
is
Jew
pathetic.
never knows
See, Israel
who
invented
will attack him.
technology
The
that
turn
would
of the
let
century
others
socialist literature
shoot
claimed
rockets at
that
us
anti-Semitism
and then
was a
just
result
blow
of
them up
capitalism.
over the heads
And
of
if
our
capitalism were to
children.
be abolished,
That's,
the same would
said
hold true for
Ari,
anti-Semitism.
Iron Dome is a
Yet,
remarkable invention.
when the socialists
but
rose
it's
to
the
power,
product of a
they almost
Yaakov
immediately
mentality.
became the most virulent
A
anti-Semites
Yaakov
in modern
mentality
times.
does what
The
you have to,
anonymity
but
and the
less than ideal
unpredictability
means.
are the worst
So we're going to let you have your
aspects of
rocket
anti-Semitism.
launchers. We're going to
The
let you
second
hide
ominous
them in
characteristic of
schools
this
and in
confrontation
mosques
was
and
that
in
upon defeat,
hospitals.
the
We're
anonymous
going to let you
antagonist
launch them
did not promise
indiscriminately
Yaakov peace.
at our
His silence
hospitals
gave the impression
and
that they would
schools.
meet again.
And the
At a
Yaakov
future
says
date
we'll
and a
invent the
time,
technology
he would be
and have to
victorious.
grovel and
These
beg
two
others to pay for it. That will
anonymity
let
and
us blow it
permanence,
up over our
constitute
heads.
the fundamental
But that's
nature
not
of
what
anti-Semitism.
Yisrael would do, he said.
This is why
What
Vayishlach is
Yisrael would
considered
do
the book
is
of
go
the
eliminate
destiny
the rocket launchers
of the Jew.
and go eliminate the
Wow,
people
what an
who are
insight.
launching those rockets.
Anti-Semitism
That's
is
what
the
Yisrael
world's
would do.
oldest hatred.
And so he stood there
It
that
is
Shabbos morning and he
a-
said, we can be proud and we should be
virus.
proud. But on the other
Rabbi
hand, it's
Lord
pathetic.
Sachs
It's the product of a
describes
Yaakov.
a virus
We are
that
Yisrael.
mutates.
We are an Am Yisrael.
And that's the
we are a
anonymity
people
of
of
it that the Rav
Yisrael.
is alluding to.
We can't be
Lama
Yaakovs
Zeh
in this
Tishal Shmi,
moment.
why are you asking
And that's
for
what
my
we've seen in
name?
the last 15
Asking
months.
what you're trying to name
We who thought we
anti-Semitism?
were Yaakov.
They
October
hated
6th,
us when we
we were
lived separate and
Yaakov.
apart.
All
They
this
hate
worry,
us
what will the
when we
world
try to
think, what will the
integrate
world
and
say, we
assimilate.
can't go into
They hate
Gaza,
us
and we
when we're
can't
wealthy and on top of the
preemptively
world.
strike
They hate hate us when we're poor
in
in the bottom of
Lebanon.
the world.
We were a
They hate us
Yaakov
no matter
mentality.
what. Lama zeh
On
tishal
October
l'shmi.
7th,
Why
woke
are you
up a
trying to name
Yisrael.
anti-Semitism
On October
and
7th,
anti-Semites?
we
You
wrestled with
cannot
our
name them. They
enemies.
don't have a name, and there is no
Nisarisa
reason.
v'atuchal.
And there is no
And what
cause.
emerged was a Yisrael.
And that's
An
what
Am
this angel,
HaNetzach,
this
a
nemesis,
fearless, roaring
this Sarah
lion.
Shalaisov is answering.
Lion.
Lama zeh tishal l'shmi.
I have a picture in
Why
my
are you
office
asking for my
of a
name?
bomb shelter
You'll never
outside of
get my
Gaza,
name
in a
because I don't
community
have
right
a
outside
name.
Gaza,
To have a name is to limit me and to
is
think you can
decorated with the
eliminate
logo
me.
of Behind the
But you
Bima.
can't do either.
Because
I'm anonymous,
not this
and
war,
I'm permanent.
several
I
years
will
ago,
keep
because
rearing my
we've been
ugly
living
head,
this way.
and it will keep coming back again And
the
again,
heroes on the
and
Gaza
again,
envelope and
says the
border.
Rav, that's
They've been
what's
living
going
this
on in
way
this
for way too
conversation,
long.
and this is what is
And
portending the future,
through one
the
episode on
destiny
one
of
behind the
the
bima, we
destiny
raised the
of the
money
Jew.
to dedicate a bomb shelter, and an artist decorated it beautifully. And
Our
I
destiny
went to
is
see
that
it
we're out of
actually a
time.
couple times in that community.
Okay,
And
we'll stop here. There was a lot more of the Parsha to do. Please remain to complete all of Sefer Tehillim. If you stay for just a few minutes, you can finish all of Sefer Tehillim together. May we hear Besoros Tovos.